Alright, good day everyone. You are welcome to another episode of our English class, and this is the part 2 of the one we started earlier, that is informal letter, part 2 of our informal letter. And today we are going to be looking at the body of the letter, the one we promised to take in the second episode, and it's time to look at it now. The body of the letter is the main thing you are supposed to do. It really determines a lot. That is where you're going to achieve your 450 words. That is what actually determines your competence in English. That is where the examiner actually want to mark. We have your content there, you show your organization also there, you show your expression mainly there, and your mechanical accuracy will also be assessed there too. So let's see how to achieve 450 words now and how to have a good exam at the end of the day. I remain your teacher, Opeifa Olasunkanmi. Yes, the main body of an informal letter is divided into 3. We have the introduction, we have the main body, and we have the conclusion. So as soon as you are done with your address, your date, your salutation, the first thing you want to do is to start writing. I haven't seen the question, so let's just assume that we have a question now, that there is a situation in your country and you are asked to write a letter to your friend on how the government is handling the situation. Okay, let's just make it very ambiguous because it can be a situation at any time too. There is a situation in your country and write a letter to your friend telling him or her how the government of your state now is handling the situation. So let's bear that in mind as the question we are going to be looking at. So you have an introduction. So the first thing is, okay, how do I introduce what I want to write? So that's the first thing in your outline. The second thing in your outline should now be the main body. What are the at least three things the government is doing to handle the situation? Okay, so let's use an example of what is prevalent as at the time of this record now. That is the coronavirus. How are we handling it in our own state? I want to believe that one, schools have been shut down, so that can be your first point, that the government had ordered that all schools should be shut down. Second point, all workers had been sent home, no work anymore for certain number of workers. And then the third point, you can talk about the advocacy for social distancing or banning of social gathering. Just put your point skeletally somewhere. You know that those are the points you are going to be developing at the end of the day, and then you have your conclusion. So let's look at our introduction now. When you have an informal letter, what do you do with your introduction? Now, what matters is whether the letter is a fresh letter or a reply letter. If you are writing a fresh letter is a letter written as not as a reply to any previously received letter or message or anything, while a reply letter is the one that is a response to a previously received letter or message. It could be text message, it could be telegram. In this 21st century, it could be messaging on your Facebook, in your WhatsApp, and anything. So let's look at an example of an introductory paragraph for a fresh letter. Of course, you can see the date there, the address and the date, then salutation. So for your fresh letter, we have this. It's a pleasure writing this letter to you. Or it's a pleasure writing you this letter. I wish to inform you of the measures being taken by the state government to combat the spread of the coronavirus. It will shock you to know that schools have been shut down, workers have been asked to stay at home, and there is heavy restriction on movement and social gathering. I shall discuss all these in the paragraphs below. Now, this is what an examiner wants to see. Any examiner that sees this will just be rest assured that yes, I have a good student, I have an A student with me. One, you've talked about the theme of the letter, and you talked about the topic sentence of each of your paragraph, the main thing you're going to be talking about in the paragraph. You've talked about it, and then you've asked the reader to move on reading. So this is a typical example of a fresh letter. You can just follow this format anytime you want to write it once a fresh letter. So the second one is reply letter. Let's quickly look at one here. In the reply letter, remember, you are responding to a message or a previously received letter that asks you to do something, and that's what you are responding to. So one, you acknowledge it. I received your letter dated 4th April 2020. Then you talk about your reference now. In the letter, you sought to know the measures being taken by the government in my state to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Then you can go ahead and now talk about your point. It will shock you to know that schools have been shut down, workers have been asked to stay at home, and there is heavy restriction on movement and social gathering. Then you can now give a cue, which you call intro now. I shall discuss all these in the paragraphs below. Bet you are going to just have a wonderful time with your examiner. And once you can obey all the mechanics, full stop where they are supposed to be, commas where they are supposed to be, and other mechanics are intact. However, it is possible we have a student out there who is finding it difficult to handle this. Just looking at it, that I know either fresh or reply is complex due to your level of expression or your linguistic competence. Yes, I understand. And I have a third one for you, just for you that is struggling with that. And the third one is what I call simpler introduction. Remember, in those days in primary school, we just have a simple way of doing it, and you can still have your good score at the end of the day if you can just adhere to the mechanics too. Your address where they're supposed to be, where it's supposed to be rather, your date is intact, your salutation is there, full stop, comma, full stop where they are supposed to be. Then you can have something like this. How are you? Question mark. I hope you are fine, full stop. If so, comma, glory be to God, full stop. The purpose of writing this letter is to inform you of the measures being taken by our state government in order to stop the spread of the coronavirus. I shall discuss them in the paragraphs below. Yeah, very simple. It may not be as strong as the previous two, but with this, you have also introduced the letter and you can have your score a very good one. It may not be as very good as the rest, but I bet you can make your credit with this once you can. But the only problem I notice here is that you may not be able to develop up to 450 words if you are not a good writer. But of course, you can still have something good at the end of the day. So I don't actually encourage this. I encourage the last two. But in case you are that type and this is what you can just produce, you've expressed yourself. Okay. So after your introduction, you don't rush. Of course, you don't rush to the main body now. You are supposed to write 450 words. How do you know when to stop at 450 words? Having an introduction like this is an opportunity. What you are supposed to do, which I'm going to move very fast to now, is count how many words you have in your first line. Can you count with me from this first line now? Okay, let me go to the first one. In here, I think I have 13 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 words here. Of course, in the typical examination with the script you're going to be given to write on, most of the time you have 9 or 10 words. So what are you supposed to do with this one? As soon as you stop your introduction, don't forget, you are going to, let me move on to the last slide. The required length is 450. You write it down. How many words do you have in your first line? Maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 13. Here now, since we have 13, you put it down, then divide. Divide 450 by 13. Approximately, I have 35. So what are you supposed to do? Let's go back to anyone now. You can now start counting from the first line again. You count 35 lines from the first line. From how are you here now? You go 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 lines here now. Then count 31 more to it. Then put a sign there, so that when you are writing, you know that you are supposed to stop at this point, or you know that, okay, you don't stop until you get here. Of course, there is no penalty for any long essay. If you write more than the required, there is no crime. You've not committed any crime there, but you are not supposed to write less than. Maybe in another lesson, we're going to talk about how our essays are assessed, are marked. Then we'll show you the danger of writing below the required length. Okay? But please, as soon as you now start writing, you can keep your eyes on what you are doing. Your first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, you can just write 2 or 3 lines more, so that you can be rest assured, because examiner may not count your first line, may count another line, but at least this is short enough for you. So let's move on to the main body now. Now you have your point to remember. So your first paragraph, you can have something like to start with. In some cases, some people accept first and foremost. Well, if you are that weak student and you cannot spell first and foremost very well. I've seen firemost before. I've seen different forms of spelling of foremost. You can just have something like firstly, firstly. Yeah, it's weak. Oftentimes we discourage it. Don't do firstly, secondly, thirdly, because by the time you get to 6 points, what do you say? You use sixthly or seventhly. So use something that is more mature, like to start with first and foremost. Okay, so that will be, you discuss your point in details. Please don't withhold any information. Discuss it in details. Schools have been shut down, right? Okay, schools have been shut down. Write in details how students were disappointed, how you were disappointed in your school, how you got back home and discovered that you were lazy, you couldn't do anything, and how you have decided to also take advantage of the time, and then how you know that many students will be roaming up and down, but you just need to stay at home because of your health. Okay, because it is very important. Make sure you don't drift so much. You are still talking around the fact that schools were shut down because of the coronavirus. Okay, then you move on to the second paragraph. You can have a linker like furthermore, in addition, moreover, more so. Remember, more so should be split. For in furtherance of this, you can have that. So let's stop in furtherance of this. To add more point, workers have been asked to also go home too. You can talk about the fact that now you now have your daddy at home, the advantage of it now. How are they handling it now? Your father goes to work because he's a very senior officer, while your mommy stays at home with you. Now everywhere is quiet. You don't want it to be spread. You just talk about it lengthily. Talk about it. Give robust details there, and then you can go on ahead again. Most of the time, 3 points should be enough for you. But if you know it will not be enough, just generate more. But please use the linkers. Use in addition, more so, moreover. However, when you are writing a point and your point is contrary, the next point you want to write is contrary to what you have written before, you can have something like however, nevertheless, nonetheless, in contrast, contrarily, just to show that, okay, you are going to be discussing a different point from the previous ones. Okay, so develop your body robustly. If there's any word like that, develop it. Have a very detailed body. Don't withhold any information. This is your examination. Okay, just have that. And then the next thing is your conclusion, which is very important. In your conclusion, you can link it. You can start with finally, in conclusion, or to sum up. So there now, remember you didn't greet at the beginning. You can now greet and ask a few questions. Ask about studies. Ask about the new school of your friend. If you're a friend, you can crack a little joke, something very mature, something concise. Then you can equally ask your friend to write back to you in your concluding paragraph. You can ask your friend to write back to you. You can greet, you can joke, you can ask the person to write back to you. Once you have exhausted this, please be watching your sign where you're supposed to stop. You can write 2 or 3 more lines beyond that, and then you can put your full stop. And don't forget to put yours sincerely. You put your comma and your first name alone. I think we've discussed this one, your first name alone. So don't forget what we have discussed. To develop the body of the letter now, you have an introductory paragraph, which can be either fresh or reply, and then we have a simpler one in case you don't have the ability to write so much. And then the main body, remember to develop it maturely. Do something like to start with, furthermore, desist from writing firstly, secondly, thirdly, and then have a very concise conclusion. Use finally in conclusion. Please don't say conclusively. It's not correct. It's not the same thing as in conclusion. You can check your dictionary for that. To sum up and so on. In your conclusion, you can greet, you can joke, you can ask questions or ask a recipient to write back to you. And please remember to close with only yours sincerely. For wax exam, only yours sincerely is accepted there. So, and then that should just use the same thing for if you are writing either NECO SSCE or NAPTEP SSCE or any other GC you are writing. Just use yours sincerely. Don't forget capital letter Y and the rest of them small letter, your first name and full stop, then comma after your sincerely. So at this point, we've come to the end of informal letter, the first episode and the second episode. In case you have any question, just put your question in the comment box there, and you can equally write your own letter too and take a picture of it, post it in the comment section too. We are going to see this. You can send it to us if you see any address, phone number, or the inbox of whoever we share this. You can just send it to the person. Sure, it will get to us. We can access it and then tell you your score. I wish you best of luck. Please don't forget to share this with your friends. And if you find this on the YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button so that when we share another one, you are going to receive notification for it. Thank you very much. Bye for now.